Hi guys, and welcome to week 3 of the 8-week life hack. This week's seminar is of course routine equals results, and we'll be concentrating a lot on routine and that next step along our journey together. I hope you guys are enjoying what we've been going through and have learned plenty along the way in these first few weeks. I know have been enjoying putting it out there for you and coming up with some new ideas as I rewrite the webinars along the way. By this stage, you should be feeling a lot of different changes and maybe even some awkward feelings and some uncomfortable moments as you readjust and realign and come up with the new values and open up new thoughts and open your brain to that want or that need to become better. That means you are putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you are spending an hour, 2 hours a week making yourself feel uncomfortable. That's what change is. That's what humans feel. And that's all the good signs, and that's all the good things that we're doing here. That is the process, and that's what we expect. So if you found yourself having different thoughts this week, or having realizations, or even having those awkward, uncomfortable realizations, just spend some time to realize that's a good thing. Firstly, I congratulate you on them, and secondly, just roll with it. Just see where it goes. Feel free to let that just be as it is, because it's only going to get bigger and better now for the next few weeks. And then of course, to mold you into the exact person you want to be at the end of this 8 weeks, the exact person who you want to be. A lot of awkward moments are going to be had, a lot of awkward conversations are going to be had, both with yourself internally and of course with other people. So that's what it's about. That's exactly what it's all about. This week, we set the habits and the standards, or you will set the habits and the standards that are going to lead you to live your ultimate you. They're going to lead you to live your most ambitious and fulfilled life. That's what this week is all about, and I can't wait to get stuck into that with you. Obviously, so far there have been 4 weeks. This is the 3rd week as far as the life hack program goes, but of course we had that first introduction week as well with the values and so on. And so far, you've looked at your purpose. The idea of you want to create, we've looked at the idea of this, we're going to create the you that never gives up, create that ultimate you. And we're going to pursue your dreams and the ultimate you with this 6-pillar process. 6 seminars over 8 weeks, 6 different ideas, 6 different subjects, 6 consecutive pillars. And then of course we went through the skeletal, the outlining idea of what the program's about, the umbrella, the structure. You've got health and growth being our main 2 needs, main 2 wants for this. Then of course you've got you in the middle, the values, and those values should pretty much be set by now. Maybe 1 or 2 small changes, but they should be good to go. And then underneath that, you've got those 4 different areas of your life. And this week and over the next few weeks, and maybe even over the last week, you would have realized which area of your life you really want to concentrate on changing, which area of your life you really need to knuckle down, and you're like, you know what, Oz, I signed up to this program to nail my fitness. And that's what you're thinking. That's where we're at, and that's what you're thinking now. And then you're looking at those other areas, and you're just keeping them in a bit of a maintenance level. But of course, they're all very important, and one is not going to go to its peak if you don't have the others kind of matching, or at least growing in some manner. So we looked at the outline like that, and I hope that's starting to make some serious sense now. And then in that introduction week, we looked at your core values. We looked at listing them, and we looked at a way of trying to find them. We also went to develop who you want to be, and really clarify that the idea is not what you want, not the outrageous things you want in your life, but the internal stuff. Where the happiness lies is that idea of who you want to be, the internal thing, the things that you can be right now. Of course, we did that 1 habit, 1 decision, 1 conversation. I hope you've reflected on that, and perhaps spent even another week coming up with another habit to do, another conversation to do, another decision to make. And as far as those habits go, of course, we will be knuckling down into them during today's webinar. During week 1, you came up with your dreams. Big, bold, outrageous, unrealistic dreams. Those things that just make you scared as you say them, make you quiver inside when you say this is what I want to do, or when you tell someone you love that you're going to aim to get this done, they look at you with disbelief. They're the goals we wanted to set up. They're the goals you created. They're the goals we're setting to achieve. We also looked at the timeline-specific goals or signposts, those shorter-term goals that will lead you, to your ultimate end. And we discussed and went through the importance of daily habits. Then last week, we went through physical and mental visualization, and I hope you've upkept that. It's truly one of the most important parts of the program. Having something that reminds you every single day of what you're doing. It's great to get the motivation of this course. It's great to hear me speak once a week. It's great to want to try and achieve something and feel the energy to get up and get after that on one day. But what are the small visualizations that's going to remind you every single day of what you're trying to achieve? And whether that's physically or whether that's a mental process, imagining where you want to get, that kind of thing. We went through that last week. Set up SMART signposts. So obviously you know quite well right now what short-term goals are as far as signposts go. You're well aware of what that's all about. And then we set up signposts being SMART, gave them a more specific, measurable, assignable, realistic timeline qualifications on what those goals were going to be. And you looked at the perfect day and the perfect week. I hope they've been implemented over the last week, and I hope that made sense, and I hope you've been able to plan better what it is you want to achieve. Make sure you're emailing me if those things don't make sense. Don't forget, perfect is unattainable. That is in the situation where you just ideally, that's exactly how your week and your days are going. But in pursuit of life, things happen. So this is just an aim, somewhere to aim at, so that you know that if you do achieve 70%, 80%, 90% of what you set out, you'll be well on your way to what you want to achieve in those ultimate end goals. Then there's your 6 webinars. So we've covered webinar 1, we've covered webinar 2. Moving on now to webinar 3. Today is all about habits, routines, and discipline. And as you can see from the process left to right, this week's the first week where we really start to get into some of the practicalities of achieving what you want to achieve. We've set the foundations now, we've set the plan, we've looked at, and now we're starting to look at what it takes. Now we're starting to implement the action and so on. Then we move into a bit of the courage and fear. So there's your breaking down the barriers. Then we move into performance. So how can we be most efficient and how we can perform best? And then of course we move into the resilience stage, the way not to quit. One of the best lessons you'll find. But this is week 3, habits, routine, and discipline. We've obviously covered before what it is that I do. And what, that structure that I've led you through. I start off with who you are, who do you want to be? We move on to what do you want to achieve, and then we discuss how you get it. And now where we are with week 3 is really combining that who and the how. If you think about the first 2 weeks is the who do you want to be, the values, and then into the what you want, the dreams and so on. And then the how you get it is kind of that planning. And now we're going back to a little bit of a mold of that who and how. And the idea there is we've got the how, let's set up the habits, let's set in the routines, let's set about getting those plans into action and actually fulfilling that day. So if last week we drew or we sketched or we developed the plan, this week we're stepping into it and we're actually implementing that day-by-day thing. But we're doing it in a way that matches who we want to be. And so we are combining the two. Now we're doing the habits, but it's the habits of who you want to be. And what I mean by that is, if the habit is you want to be fit and strong, then the who is someone who goes to the gym every day, and the how is I'm going to the gym every day and I'm doing it at 6 a.m. and I'm there for 45 minutes and whatever the case may be. So that's what we're moving into this week. The who and the how is a combination of those two things. And the who's extremely important this week because we're going to be going into a level of standards. You are not going to be able to achieve the standards that you want to achieve, the things that you want to achieve, if you don't have a really strong basis of who you are or who you want to be as far as those values. You know, that's where this commitment, or that's where this courageous, or that's where this provider thing, these values that you set yourself early on, that's where this starts kicking in, because this is where you implement it on the daily. So you can reflect on the last week and you can say, okay, well, perhaps I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, but every single day I was living this life as who I wanted to be. And you're going to start getting that fulfillment from that. That's going to be the who and the how. And it's extremely, extremely important. So far, we've got the foundations and the practical tools, and I spoke on that a little bit, but I'll cover it a little bit more. And what I'm trying to say there is that you've been given those tools so far. If you reflect on it, you've already got a good 6 or 7 activities. And all of those things will improve your life to being to a point of exactly who you want to be. You could do them, motivate yourself to do them, and go along, and they will work. But what we need to do now is create the you that's going to do it forever. And that's what we're moving into. All the daily activities and so on will get you, that you've already got, will get you to living your most ambitious and fulfilled life. But from here on, it's all about action and attitude. It's all about implementing those things we've discussed, and it's all about becoming who you want to become. It's very mental. It's very becoming consciously aware, and it's very physical in what we're going to pursue now. So you've got all the tools. You should be pumped about that. What we're going to move into now is focusing the mind, where you are to where you want to be, and what we need to do to do that, to become that. Who you are now, who do you want to be in 8 weeks, and what changes do we need to implement every single day to get there? Yeah, so this week is all about action, implementation, and attitude. This week is about habits, routines, and standards. We're going to look at creating habits. We're going to look at the idea of repetition and creating habits that will lead to your most ambitious and fulfilled life. And not only creating habits, but also looking at what standards those habits need to be. It's all well and good to have a series of habits that might lead to your best life, but if you're not doing them to the level of standard that's necessary, then you will never get to where you want to go. Of course, another word for habits is behaviors, and we'll talk about that in just a moment when I cover some of that first portion of the thing. But this week is all about habits, creating those habits that will get you living your most ambitious self and making sure we raise the standards of that habit. This week is the first week where I'll really expect you to start committing to living every day as your ultimate self. And that'll make a little bit more sense by the end of this talk, but end of the webinar. But what I'm saying there is you live every day with those core beliefs repetitively in pursuit of what you want. Routine will be talking more about every single day, and people cover this all the time. Routine is all about discipline. Routine is all about creating the automatic things that get your life up and running. Making your bed in the morning, brushing your teeth, shoes and socks, driving, making sure you get to work on time, getting your routines right. So how many days can you think of where you can't even remember what you did? But you know that at least you went to work, and you know at least you did pretty well at work, and you had lunch, and you got home, and you went to footy training, or you spoke to the kids, you put the kids to bed, whatever it was. You can't even remember the day because it was all one big Groundhog Day. But you did it with a routine. So what we're going to focus on this week, and what I want you to think about, is making sure that routine is the best it can be. Because if those automatic things that you don't even remember doing get done, and you do it at such a massive high standard level, and create a routine that's so disciplined, it's going to get you to be top level of the game, then you've improved those routines tenfold. You've improved those routines to becoming who you need to be. And that folds a little bit further into those standards, the idea of standards. We'll cover that as we go through. We'll be talking about shoulds and musts, which is an interesting conversation. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So today I expect that you'll learn how personal standards affect your life. We'll cover that in routines. We'll go through an idea of becoming aware of the words you use. And that's not only externally, in conversation with your boss, with your friends, with your family, but also internally. How are you talking to yourself? What are the words you're using inside your head? We'll do a process called habit creation. So I'll talk to you about the idea of creating a habit and how you can go about getting that done. And we'll look at the importance of repetition. It's once you've heard it and once you've discussed it, it makes a lot of sense. And perhaps some of you are sitting there now thinking, yeah, I get it. I get repetition and why it's important, but we'll go through that as well on today's webinar. Today is fundamental in creating the you that you most desire to be. I've said that a couple of times so far, but I just need to repeat it because whilst the previous weeks have been important to creating those practical tools that fulfill your, create your most ambitious and fulfilled life, this week is fundamental. It's the crux of it. It is what is going to get you to live and be the you most desire to be. Habits, routine, and the standard to which you fulfill those habits. So what are habits? Another word for habits is simply behaviors. Our behaviors are formed by the expectations we put on ourselves. Whether it's brushing your teeth every morning and night, or whether it's applying for a home loan, all the tasks we do to a certain level of behavior, and that behavior is set by our habits and the standard with which we perform those habits. So this week is all concentrated on habits. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of new habits that are going to lead you to your most ambitious and fulfilled life. And we're going to look at the importance of repetition to become skilled and automatic in that habit. Your habits, also known as behaviors, and the quality of them are the quality of your life. The quality of your life is affected by those behaviors and your habits, and they're affected by the quality or the level at which you set your personal standards. And that comes from self-expectation. Who do you want to be? Or what does who you want to be expect of yourself? That internal motivation, that internal reason, that little niggling voice that says, no, do it better. That little niggling voice that when you're meant to walk the dog, you don't. And it niggles at you, says, fucking walk the dog. When you're meant to brush your teeth and you don't, you think, what, I'm too tired, I'm just going to go straight to bed. And it says, no, get up and brush your teeth. The little voice that when you're in year 3 learning to get your pen license, let you write messily, but then niggled at you and said, just write neater and get your bloody pen license. All those little things is about who you want to be and the standard with which you want to live your life. And it matters. That internal motivation matters because the standard at which you live your life will form your best habits and behaviors. And if you show me your habits, I will show you the level at which you live your life. And that's in all areas, whether it's at the gym or what you wear or what you eat or your health, how much sleep you get, brushing your teeth, the home you live in, the house you live in, the area you live in, the country you live in, the car you drive, whether you drive a car, whether you affect the environment, all of those levels of your behavior are equal or are created or a result of your personal standards. So what are your habits? And with those habits, who do you want to be known as? They're the questions you need to ask yourself today. And what we're going to look at now is the idea of repetition, to be making those habits so highly skillful and so highly automatic that they just let us live our best life. To create a habit or to create a new skill and to make it automatic and to make it something that just happens, you need to repeat the process. But not only that, you need to set a way or a system that creates the process, sets it to a standard with which you want to fulfill the process, and then sets a way in which you can repeat it daily, weekly, hourly, so on and so forth. It takes 21 days or 20 to 28 days to create that new habit or skill. And during that time, it's repetition that matters most. Repetition is the mother of all skill, and it's been taught for time more. It's been taught for time eternal. Whether it's a modern day author with all the latest self-help books through to ancient Greek philosophers, they all advocate for the idea that you need to perform in repetition to be good at something. Essentially, they're saying to become good, you need to do it daily. To become great, you need to do it hourly. To become an expert at something, don't stop doing it. I mean, there's a famous author of recent times, Malcolm Gladwell, who suggested the theory that if you do something for 10,000 hours or more, you will become an expert in it, no matter what the subject matter. 10,000 hours is not a great deal of time when you break it down, and yet it's a way to reach expert, and that's simply because you're repeating the skill. So to ensure you reach your goals and become your most fulfilled self, I'm asking you to perform those tasks or the tasks that you want to set yourself repetitively. The life you pursue should become something that you do all day, every day, all encompassing every single day. Now, it takes 21 to 28 days to form a habit. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to create our own habit. And I want you to decide on what habit you want to create. I want you to think about all the different areas and all the different things that you need to change about your life, whether it's getting up and going to the gym in the morning, or whether it's performing better at work so you can get a raise, or whether it's spending time with the family and getting home earlier, or whether it's drinking 3 liters of water a day, or whether it's not drinking a glass of wine every night, whatever the case may be. What's the habit that you need to create? I need you to come up with it now. Imagine your life if all of the most important tasks that you needed to get done were simply habits that happened automatically. That's where I want you to get. That's the level at which I want you to get to. So for instance, can you even remember driving the car today? And if you don't drive a car, can you remember tying your shoelaces? They're habits that you have. They're things that you do automatically. They're run by your unconscious brain and you don't even think about them when you do them. I want you to get to a point where all of the most important tasks you do during a day are done automatically. Imagine that. Imagine if you needed to sell 3 things or 3 new products a day. And imagine if you just did it automatically. Picked up the phone, had the conversation without even thinking, your unconscious brain took over and you sold. Let's get you to performing all the important tasks at a level of automatic habit. And where does that happen? How does that start? It starts now by deciding on what habit you want to create. And let's start off with creating one habit. 28 days is what they say. Well, 21 to create the habit, 28 to make sure the habit's ingrained in what you do. And then another 28 days later, you'll see the results of that habit. So decide on what habit you want to create. And as you're deciding, I want you to be exact. I want you to write it down. I want you to be exact in the description of how you execute that habit. And then we're going to repeat the habit for 28 days. You're going to come up with your own way of repeating it. So one of the things that I do is I go and buy a little pack of Post-its and I write on the top post-it 28 and on the post underneath 27, underneath 26, all the way down to 1. And I stick that in the mirror in my bathroom. And I think, what is the, and I stick it underneath my habit that I've just written out. What's the new habit I'm going to have? 28 and 28 underneath it. And then every day, bang, tear it off. 27. Next morning, bang, tear it off. 26, all the way down to 1. Just recently, I went through 100 days of no alcohol. The new habit was not drink alcohol for the day, and I went through 100 days. I did the exact same thing. I had 100, and I kept a tally. Bang, 100, 99, came down 98, all the way down to 1. So you can create your own process. Maybe you might like doing it in a bit of a calendar form, but whatever it is, make sure you're repeating the habit for 28 days. And it doesn't have to be once a day. Maybe it's a habit that you want to form that's something you do all the time. Maybe it's maybe you use the word like too much. So you want to call yourself out on it. You want to get rid of the habit. Your new habit is not to use the word like in the middle of a sentence. Then 28 days, and you can do it more than once on each of those days. And I like to set it up like this. There you go. There's a calendar in front of you. 28 days. Let's count backwards. And just as you go, print this off. You know what? Bring the screen up, do a print screen, print it off. I might even make this picture available for you in some little bit of additional resources. But then what we'll do is we'll have this calendar, 28-day countdown, 4 weeks, pretty easy. We just start ticking them off, bang, 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 all the way through, 4 weeks worth, 3, 2, 1, look at that, party. Congratulations, there's a new habit. 28 days, doesn't take long. Think about it, if you were to do it today in less than a month, you've got yourself a new life-changing, most important task habit. So think about the area of your life. Think about what habit you need to form. And let's create it. Write it down. I want to. I will. I'm going to. Every day I need. Whatever it is, create yourself a new habit. Don't forget, those habits, they need to be in line with the SMART goals. They need to be in line with who you want to be. Perhaps they're one of the progress tasks, perhaps they're one of the personal fulfillment tasks, whatever it is. If you've written something down of who you want to be and you just haven't worked out how to fit it into your life, this is it. This is where you're going to fit it in. You're going to create a habit around it. If you want to be more courageous, then you're going to create a habit about showing courage when you normally show fear. Think about a situation that makes you fearful, write down what you're going to do to be courageous about it, and do it for 28 days. Do it for 28 days. Perhaps you don't like having meetings with your boss. You know what? For the next 28 days, I want you to go and offer him a coffee meeting. I want you to go and sit in, or him or her, and sit in their office and have a 5-minute chat. They're not going to kick you out for a 5-minute chat. Just go in there and start talking. Then when they say they're busy, leave. But do it for 28 days. And then suddenly when you do want to go and speak to your boss and you are feeling timid about getting a raise or coming up with a new idea or being the person to present something to him or her, then you've already done 28 days worth of just random conversation with this guy. Do you know how easy that habit is going to have formed by then? There you go. There's an example of what habits we need to be creating. Routine. Routine is those habits in place every single day. And the routine, or a disciplined routine, is where our personal standards become automatic, and those habits become automatic in our day. Because once we set up those automatic routines, then we start making it easier to live the life that we want to live. Easier to live to the level with which we want our quality of our life to be. And where that comes down to is discipline in the routine. What you do and how you do it every single day. What do you want to achieve? What are the SMART goals you want to achieve? Who is the ultimate you? Who do you want to be? Your routine is what creates that you. If you reflect on what you've done every single day and the routine with which you do it, I spoke about Groundhog Day just before, but that idea of every single day you're doing the same thing. So if every single day the same thing that you're doing is a routine that leads you to who you want to be, then you'll get there faster and you'll be a better person. You'll be who you want to have achieved if that routine is in line with what you want to be. What do you do and how you do it every single day? What's the routine? Is it to get up early and drink your lemon water and drink a liter of water and go to the gym and get to work early and get an hour's worth of work done before everyone else? Is it a routine not to check your emails first thing in the morning and to make sure you're doing the productive tasks and the biggest frog every morning? The biggest frog, the hardest task thing, get it out of the way, get a bit of momentum in your day. Is that your routine? Well, then you'll be living a better life. Or is your routine to walk into the office, sit down at the chair, get a bit distracted, go to the water cooler, have a bit of a chat, get a coffee, go back to your desk, oh, I'm not quite ready yet, go back to the kitchen, get yourself a muffin. Is that your routine? Well, then you're not living your best life, you're not performing the best, you're definitely not the best performer at work. What are your routines? What do you do and how do you do it every single day? That's what we're working on now. We're working on forming those better routines, and we're definitely working on improving the standard of those routines. And one way in which we can do that is looking at the words that we use. Every single day, the what you repeat to do, if you repeat it in an automatic way that's mediocre, then you're going to be living a mediocre life. So let's raise the standard of those routines and raise the standard of your life. And one way we do that, as I say, is the words we use. Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi has got an amazing quote just there. I'd love you to make sure you read that. Feel free to type it out and steal it. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and ladies and gentlemen, your values become your destiny. Now, you may recognize some of those words in the structure of this program because I do it a little bit in reverse. I like the idea that if I can take the words that I use, I can create and put them inside of the values and the habits, then I can create my beliefs and I can create my destiny. I believe that all those linkages are there. We just need to work it backwards. So what I've come up with, or what I do, is at the moment, who you are is the words you use. And I'm going to use the idea of the words that you use, or the words that we use every single day, a way of reflecting on who we are, or what the level of our personality or what the attitude we have is, and becoming consciously aware of who we are. But let's flip it. Who we are the words we use. Let's turn that around and find that the words we use can create who we are. We are able to consciously make the decision to change the words that we use to create the person we want to be, who we want to become. And the way that I'm going to ask you to do that is by setting up a little bit of a habit every single day. What I'd like you to do is, on 3 separate occasions throughout the day, spend some time being consciously aware of the words that you use. What does that mean? What does that look like? Set an alarm, or decide to listen to conversations that you have over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or decide right now, 3 times tomorrow that you're going to do it. Write that down in your diary. And when that time comes up, reflect on the words that you're using, reflect on the conversation that you're having, reflect on the internal conversation you're having, or the people that you're speaking to and how you're making them feel. What do I mean by that? You see, the words that we use indicate the type of person that we are. The words that we use in varying situations indicate our inner response to those situations. Pessimists have negative words. Optimists have positive words. Confident people say, I can. Uncertain people say, I'll try. Nervous people laugh, angry people yell, etc., etc., etc. Have you ever been to a sporting match? Or perhaps you know someone like this that has their favorite team and watches them play every single week. And yet he's always talking, or they are always talking about the negative. Oh, we always miss. Oh, the umpires never help us, and so on and so forth. And then their team wins, and it's, oh yeah, but they're just a negative Nancy. At the same time, you can always find people that are in the positive. They always see the brighter side. They always see the opportunity. Who would you rather be? So what I want you to think about are the words that you use. Are you the negative person? Are you the person that always sees fear and the things that might go wrong? Or are you the positive person? Are you the person that always sees opportunity? That's who we need to become. So I want you to reflect on that 3 times every single day and change the words that you use. Actively listen to what you say and change or adapt why you are using those words. Why do I say, oh, be careful? Have I been brought up that way? Perhaps I shouldn't say that anymore. Why do I talk about all the things that could go wrong with the work, with the project or the new project at work. Let's talk about all the positives and all the things that are going to go right. And then when you consider what the words are you using, then think about what's the response that you want or the response that you need, or what result do you want? Do you talk about debt and being behind and being late for payments, or do you talk about making a payment early, or all the money that's around, or the abundance in your life? Do you talk about all the things that you don't have, or all the things that you do have? Consider, what's your attitude that you want? What results do you want? What response do you need? And form your words to lead you towards those things. Take notes of the words you use. Decide when you review the words you use. Like I said, an alarm, over a meal, or a specific conversation. Perhaps you know that you've got a meeting coming up, or perhaps you know you've got a hard conversation coming up. Make sure you listen to the words you use during that conversation. Do you say sorry a lot? Do you say excuse me a lot? What are the words that you use? It only takes a few minutes a day, but it's one of the most refreshing and enlightening activities that you'll do. And not only that, it is the beginning of becoming more consciously aware of who you are. And that awareness is key to the next few weeks of this program. It is the beginning of bringing the control back to you. You're not in Mr. Automatic mode. You're not in automatic mode to just achieving life as mediocre as everyone else. Bring the control back to you. Be consciously aware of yourself, and let's get the better results. And it doesn't have to be the words we use if you don't like that idea. It can be the thoughts that you have. It could be the way you present yourself, the clothes that you wear, the stature with which you stand. It could be anything. You just need to find something that you want to be consciously aware of changing to get a better performance, and do it. 3 times a day. Create that habit. Create that habit now. I touched on this earlier, but we'll go deeper into it now. The quality of your life is a reflection of your habits and the standard at which those habits you perform. So logically, the level of our standards equal the quality of our life. So what we need to do is raise our standards. If you want to live a better life, come back to the basics, come back to the smaller things, come back to the foundations, and raise the standards of those. Raise the level of which you perform the habits. And one way of doing that is having shoulds versus musts. If you want to be fitter, then the standard of your habit should be to run every day, to go to the gym for an hour every day. If you want to be thinner, then the standard of your habit should be to prepare your meals every morning. Prepare all the meals you're going to eat. Make sure they reach the right calorie, nutrition, and nutrient counts. That should be the standard of your habit. Not just that you will eat every day, but what standard at which you eat every day. If you want to raise the quality of your life, you need to raise the standards. If you want to get a raise at work, then you need to get better at the work you're doing, and you need to have the standard of asking for more money, and you need to have the standard of performing better than others. It's a competition. Simple things. Raise your standards, raise the quality of your life. And as I say, one of the ways to do that is this idea of shoulds versus musts. And what do I mean by that? And this is not my concept. I say that from the outskirt. I'm not even sure it's this guy's concept, but I heard it from Tony Robbins. Shoulds versus musts. Think about once again, the words that you use. You know what? I should go to the gym. Or, no, I must go to the gym. Shoulds versus musts matter. If you want to have a better relationship, you know what? I should go and take my wife to dinner. No, I must take my husband to dinner. If you want to have more recreation time, if you want to have more downtime, if you want to be a happier, healthier, more balanced person, you know what? We should go on a holiday. No, I must go on a holiday. These are shoulds versus must. One is thinking about it. One is uncertain about it. One is a maybe, and then one is a commitment. One is getting it done. One is this will happen, this will raise the quality of my life. One is this might. So what I want you to do from now is look at your standards and look at what your shoulds are versus your musts. And you need more musts in your life. That's what this last activity is all about. What do you want? You need to get to the point where your discipline and your commitment leaves you with no other option. Become the person that pursues their goals relentlessly without distractions or an issue of giving up. You need to begin to tell yourself that you must achieve what you set out to do. There's no other option. And the standard by which you approach your year, your month, your week, your day, your hour, or even your minute, that dictates the quality of your life. So that's where we need to get to. The standards as we do things need to be a must, no longer are they a should. Consider some of the following scenarios. If someone wants to improve their standing at work and get a raise, Angie might tell herself that she should talk to her boss and ask for some more responsibility. But then Brenda might tell herself that she must talk to her boss and must receive more responsibility. Who do you think is going to get the raise? If someone wants to improve their fitness, then Andrew might say, you know, I should get up an hour earlier and spend an hour at the gym before work. Whereas Bill says, I must get up an hour earlier. I must spend an hour in the gym before work. Who's going to get that result? If you want to improve your productivity, you might say to yourself, I should spend less time on Instagram and Facebook. But if you say to yourself, I must spend less time on Instagram and Facebook, or I must not be on those things, that's the standard with which you'll get the result. So to improve our standards, we need to turn our shoulds into musts. We need to believe that we must get it done and no longer believe that, maybe we just should. And the way I would like you to look at doing that is to form a must-do list. Our daily task list must transition from a to-do list to a must-do list. To decide which of our daily tasks we must set as musts, I want you to consider your goals, your values, and your intentions. What are the things that are most important? That's where you need to begin. Eventually, we'd look at having only musts on our to-do list, but let's just start with one. Let's make it easy. So I want you to look at your daily task list, and I want you to highlight what's most important. What area to change is most important? And then pick that to do, pick that task, and write it as a must. And use the word must. And include the standard with which you complete the task. And rewrite it. And write that you must do it. As I say, eventually you want all of the list to be musts. But let's start at one, and let's slowly grow it from there. Let's turn our entire to-do list into a must-do list. And as I said, gets to a point where we need to decide what's most important. Why? Why do we need to do that? The reason is that we only have a certain amount of time and energy per day. And each of us have got the same amount of time. So what we fill our time with matters. We need to fill it with the most important stuff. We need to fill it with our musts. All of our energy should be focused on what's going to lead to becoming our ultimate goals, to becoming our ultimate you, to becoming that you that is most ambitious and most fulfilled. You know, that crazy ultimate goal you that you kind of disbelieve that you can achieve? This is where it matters. If we set the standards right and we fill our habits with our must-do list, then we'll get further along the efficiency path to achieving what we want to achieve in that realm. That's what it's all about. Set those standards high, change the to-do list to a must list, and eventually you'll just be spending time on the things that matter, on the things that are important. This week was all about attitude and action, becoming consciously aware of who you are and the attitude with which you have and the standards with which you fulfill your habits and what those habits are and whether or not those habits are leading to who you want to be. That's what this week was all about. Attitude and beginning the action. How does that work in the day-to-day? Obviously, you've got those additional resources. You've got the weekly review, you've got the daily checklist, you've got the gratitude, and you've got the intention. The weekly review now, you can score yourself. Have a look at the standards with which you are fulfilling those must-do lists and give yourself a score. Are you doing it well enough? Are those standards high enough? Are you living up to your own expectations? In the daily checklist, it's no longer just a to-do list. Now you have the idea of the things that you must do, and you're changing the words around what you are trying to achieve with words that will actually get it done. Must, not shoulds. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the results with which you get this week from turning those standards up, turning those routines on, and creating more efficient and better habits. So today we went through a few things. We went through habits and behavior, because that's what habits are. Habits are your behavior, and let's raise the standards. We went through what the effects of having a disciplined routine are. If the automatic things that you're doing every day are done to a better standard and are done in line with who you want to become, be disciplined about it, and you'll achieve that in a much faster, much more efficient manner. And then, of course, we went through quality of standards, shoulds versus musts, and that can be affected through the entire range of habit creation, the importance of repetition, the words we use, and then making sure you must get things done, not just get things done. So you should have formed an avenue to create at least one new habit. And once that's up and running after 28 days, you can start creating more and more new habits on your way to living your ultimate you. You learn to become more consciously aware of the words that you use. You created a must-do list, and you've begun the process of focusing on what's most important. They're the things that we went through over the last hour. I hope all that's made sense. If it hasn't, don't forget to get in contact, flick me an email, let me know what's working and what's not. If it hasn't made clear sense, I was pretty quick in some of the words and pretty aggressive with some of the words that I used during this webinar. So, rewatch it. You have that opportunity. You've got access to these for such a long time. Replay it, rewatch the slideshow, get involved. Must do it. Don't just do it. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, it's a habit. So I'm going to ask you from this day forward, make the internal promise to yourself that you will every day be the ultimate you. Act with the habits that are who you want to be. Act with the habits that are in line with the values that you have set yourself. That's it for tonight's webinar. If you've got any questions, make sure you hit me, mp@wordswithoz.com. Let me know any of those questions. We are 3 weeks in, 4 weeks if you include the introduction week. We're well underway now. You've got all of the activities and abilities to be living your most ambitious and fulfilled life. You've been given values, you've been given goals and signposts. We've looked at the weekly review, the intention, the gratitude, the checklists. We've done visualizations. We've done the perfect day and the perfect week. It's all there. Now it's just about changing our minds and forming the habits that's going to create the ultimate us. And I can't wait to see what kind of ultimate you all come up with.